So hi, Debra, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Deborah. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, and I'm happy to see you again.
As am I. I think we were mentioning it's been about 3 years since we
Yes, three
saw
years, how
each
time
other.
flies. And
It
it's
does. It
like
really
yesterday.
does. Yes, it does indeed.
Yeah. All right. So before we move on to the discussion for today, which is on mental health, I would like to quickly do a brief introduction of the special guest we have in the house. So we have Debra. She's a respected entrepreneur and a self-starter. She's a skilled speaker, a facilitator, and experiential trainer. Her sojourn into people development began as a police officer in 1989, and she started the journey by working as a constable with the Calgary Police Service in numerous team environments. Debra has been a professional member of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, as well as National Speaker Association since 2004. And she's a certified performance coach through corporate performance coaching. So Debra, you are once again welcome to my channel.
Thank you very much.
All right, so today we'll be talking about how to be mentally strong during crises such as this pandemic. And before we move on to the discussion of the day, can you just tell us what mental toughness is? I know there is a thin line between mental toughness and mental health. So what exactly is mental toughness?
Yes, there's a big difference. What I'm going to be referring to and what my area of interest is on the mental toughness piece. And how I'll define that today is how to perform at the upper limits of your talents and your skills when you're feeling stress and you're feeling pressure. So it is something that you can conjure within to make your performances better, to handle stress, to handle things. So it's not about mental health, but it's about increasing your mental health. So it's more
Okay.
practical, tangible things that you can do to build your mental resiliency.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Debra. So the next question I would like to ask is, as an expert in mental toughness, I would like to know how we can develop and maintain mental toughness and staying strong in all situations. Your ability to manage stress and, like you said, still keep the balance.
Mm-hmm.
How we
Absolutely.
develop mental toughness.
I think it would be simplest if I present this in a group of 3 learnings.
Okay.
So you've obviously heard that expression, the mind and the body are connected. Yes? So what I
Mm-hmm.
want to go through is 3 awarenesses, how your mind and your body are connected. But more importantly, then I will give you 3 tricks to overcome that connection if it's not serving you well. So basically, I'll give you 3 things to be mindful of your mental state, and 3 things of how you can overcome or increase your performances literally on demand. Does that make sense? I just want to keep it nice and practical for you.
Yeah.
So the first one, and I'm just as an aside, I am so glad you picked this topic because of the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
because as I was prepping for this, I was thinking, okay, well, of the 3 tricks I'm going to give you in your audience today, how does it relate to COVID? How does it relate to what people are experiencing right now? And it's so important because the first awareness I want to give you, the first trick I want to give you is so linked to what it's not just me assuming people are going through. I'm watching people experience a deteriorating mental health because of this pandemic. So
Yeah.
moving forward to the first one, to build your resiliency, to build your mental health, to build your mental toughness, if you will, the first awareness is you have to acknowledge that you have to have confidence, especially in difficult times. You have to create confidence sometimes when perhaps it's not existing for you. So the first one I want to go through is so connected to COVID. And the reason is if people don't have confidence in their day-to-day lives, the opposite is fear. And I think you'd agree with me, not everyone, many people are experiencing such intense feelings of fear right now, and it is eroding their confidence levels. All justified. People are living in fear of becoming sick, dying from COVID, their loved ones being ill, loss of income, job security, like the list goes on and on. So I'm not suggesting that these aren't valid fears. They're exceptionally valid fears, and I can speak to them personally. Debra, this is Debra, practicing what I preach these days, because loss of income. I'm a speaker. You know, they have canceled meetings. So I feel for people, because I'm going through the same things in a level that is very personal to me. So the first awareness is confidence. You have to have confidence to stay mentally tough, to get through the fear. And so how does one do that? The first awareness that I sort of talk about, and if you recall this when you heard me speak in Edmonton so many years ago, the awareness is when you are thinking in positive ways, in positive thoughts, you're going to get positive performances. And the reverse is true. When you're thinking negatively, you're going to get negative performances. And we know this intuitively. As an example, you show up for work one day and you're in a very foul mood. You're very negative. You think the meeting you've got coming up is going to be terrible. You're not prepared, whatever it is. Whatever's going on in your mind, you're having a very negative vein, a very negative mental rehearsal about it. Chances are your day's going to go pretty bad. And then on the flip side, you show up for your day at work, you show up to see your kids, you show up to the soccer game, whatever it is, and you're in a really good mood and you're very positive and you think this is going to be so much fun. Typically you have so much fun. Like, we know this intuitively. Negative state will get you negative performances. Positive state will get you positive performances. That is the first awareness. We know this intuitively. So what is the trick? And this is all, I will wrap this up with a bow, because it is connected to creating confidence. So if that is in fact the thing, negative will get you negative, positive will get you positive. So the question is, if you're in a negative state, if you're in a foul, terrible mood, how on earth do you flip that around to get yourself into a good mood, to increase your performances, to increase your experiences through life? Easier said than done, as you can recall, or you can recall times in your life when you've been very foul. It's like, how do you flip a switch and all of a sudden be in a good mood and nail the exam or the presentation? There actually is a way to do that. And I just will back up a little bit. It is normal to have negative state. Everybody should have negative state, because life is hard, right? Especially right now, we're in hard times. So don't go around pretending everything is good all of the time, because that's actually very unhealthy as well. But I am going to give you a trick that, let's say you have something upcoming that you have to take on. You have to deal with your finances that maybe are in trouble right now. You have to do a presentation, whatever it is. I'm going to give you a trick. I stand up bullet straight. I have my chin lifted and I've got my big, huge teeth, right, that I show all around. But I'm practicing what I preach, because what if I came into a presentation, a speech, and I was in a bad mood, someone cut me off in traffic, I don't know, whatever it was. I know I can't stay there because I'm not going to perform well. I'm not going to be at my best mental capacity when I'm in negative state. So I use this trick, this tip, whatever we want to call it, every time. You got it. That's right. Change your posture, nice and tall. You can do this while you're sitting. You can do it while you're standing. It doesn't matter. You can do it behind the wheel of a car, which I highly recommend, because that could limit our road rage problem to get you in more of a positive state. So you're nice and tall, chin lifted, smile on your face. This trick literally takes seconds, if not maybe a minute, to kick in, because it is a physiological response telling your brain that you're in a positive state. The reason why I think this one's so important right now is because of COVID, the pandemic, etc., we have the risk of spiraling one negative state to another negative state to another negative state. And pretty soon you've dug yourself into a hole that you can't see the light of day anymore. So, and I've done it. I'm being super authentic. You know, I'm a very authentic person.
I know.
Super nuts. Okay. But I'm authentic. And so through this COVID, and I'm not kidding you, Debra, my daily routine over the last couple of months is I go to my office, I check my email, and what I do is I handle cancellations. That's like the first hour. Like, it's hard. And I get this, right? Because you just see your income going with every email. And so, Deb, I say to myself, practice what you preach. You can get through this. Use your tricks. And the first one I do is I sit in front of my computer. It's a good thing my neighbors can't see me, because I probably look ridiculous. cares? So I sit up nice and tall and I put a smile on my face, and literally within seconds, if not a minute, if I'm really foul, might take a minute, my entire state changes. I get more positive. I am pleasant handling my cancellations, as opposed to maybe saying something nasty, which I wouldn't do, but I have more of a positive energy about it and invite them to rebook me for when this is all over. You get the idea. It starts positive. Here's the other piece that I'll tie this first one into when I said creating confidence. If you do this as a life habit, meaning every time you have to perform, whatever performance is for every individual, it literally will boost almost subconsciously your confidence levels. You will subconsciously be less timid to have that hard conversation with someone. You will be less timid to don the mask and stand in line at Costco. You'll be less timid to give that presentation at a business meeting because it's a physiological thing and it's changing your mental state. So in a weird way, it's actually creating a confidence level that you wouldn't have had you not done this.
Interesting.
So I'm going to wrap this one up and recap. Awareness number 1 of the 3 I'm going to talk about today. Negative state in your mind will give you negative performances.
Yeah.
Positive state will get you positive performances. So what is the trick? What is the tip? If you are in a negative state, what I want you to do is shake it all off, literally, physically, stand up nice and tall, lift up that chin, put a smile on your face, and within seconds, if not a minute, your physiological response will kick in and it will take away those negative messages, states, and it will replace it with positive. Ergo, increase your performances on demand. Make sense?
Absolutely. And that's simple. I think I'm going to be doing that on a daily basis now. That is a huge thing for me that I'm learning today. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so easy to do. You just have to be mindful to do it. And the next time you're having kind of a negative roller coaster thing in your mind, that's the first thing you need to do is just sit up nice and straight, put that smile on your face. I'm going to wrap this up with a police example.
I would love
to think about cops. How do they walk? Right? They got the whole, they got the big posture going on. Well, connect the dots, right? They're very confident beings, or at least the perception is that they're very confident beings. And I believe part of that is the way they're carrying themselves. There's a certain confidence. We could use other words. Let's use a nice word like authority. But people, when you see a cop, that's what people go, whoa, and they haven't even spoken. So it's about the body language. So just to tie that in with my policing background and experiences too, for someone who's not a police officer, you can connect the dots as to what they're doing. And interestingly, we're not taught that. It's almost an intuitive thing.
Yeah.
So I call it the cop walk. So go ahead, do the cop walk, and it'll boost your confidence.
That's walking. Okay. Walking with confidence. Wow.
Walk with confidence.
Wow. Interesting. All right. And the key thing that I actually picked is negative thinking produce negative results.
That's it.
Having any negative thoughts, it's better to just flip it immediately. And also, your posture is also key in developing mental, strength.
Yes, it will increase your confidence. I challenge your listeners to actually stand up whenever they're watching this, to stand up and lift up their chin, put a big smile on their face.
Okay, Debra, do you want to demonstrate that so that the audience, the listener, can see?
Okay.
Demonstrating that?
Let's give it a try. I don't know what's going to happen if I'm going to cut off my head with the camera or not, but they'll show me mercy. You got good people, so I'm going to move my camera. Okay. And I'm just going to set it up, and I'll take a step back. So now I'm standing. I think you can see that. So what I challenged people, if they're having a really bad moment, but they have to go take on some sort of challenge, and they want to get rid of that negative state. Literally, okay, I'm going to do the cop thing now. This is me being the cop thing. Okay, so it's nice and tall. I got to take my glasses off for this. Stand up nice and tall, lift up your chin, and put a smile on your face. And just walk through your office, walk through your house, wherever it is you are, and walk around like that, just for like even a few seconds.
Yes, yes, yes. And another thing that actually helps me in building confidence, Debra, I don't know if I'm true, is when I'm well dressed, it kind of helped me to feel a little bit confident. Is that true? Or is it just me just thinking that way, or it actually works that way? The way you are dressed
it is
you in building confidence.
Yes, that is a thing. It's very true. Actually, I'm going to add to that. When I started being a speaker, it was, okay, what am I going to wear? Because actually, when I first started my business, I taught self-defense courses. It's difficult to teach self-defense courses in high heels and a business suit. So for all my employees, at one point I had about 52 employees, I had safe and sound tracksuits. They were nice, but it made sense because we were teaching self-defense. It was very physical. Then when I started moving into just presentations, I needed confidence. And so I thought, how will I dress? And then I read somewhere, I wish I could give the person credit, but I can't because I don't remember, but it was something to the effect of, dress one step up from your audience because it will boost your confidence. I have found tremendous success with that. It's nothing about your audience. Most people, they love you, they don't care. But for your own confidence, if you've got, if you're well presented, hopefully you've brushed your teeth, hopefully you've brushed your hair. It really is that together with the sitting up straight. And I think I took some sales training a long time ago, and they said the same thing. And you know what, this is good that you brought that up because many people are working from home. And the temptation is to stay in your pajamas. Right?
Yeah.
Right? And you know what? And that's great. It's comfortable, but I'm not suggesting you're going to get your best performance in your pajamas. So yeah, that is another thing that's going to boost your confidence. How you're carrying yourself, how you're sitting at your desk, as well as how you're actually dressing. All of it will be helpful. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a really good point.
Absolutely. Thank you, Debra. And the next question I'm going to be asking is, you worked as a police officer, and I'm sure that you must have handled tough cases that require staying strong and mentally tough. So do you want to share one or two experiences with us and how you were able to manage those cases?
Okay. Probably what comes to my mind is sharing a very short story that I would have shared at the presentation because it's so obvious how I worked on my mental toughness and how effective it was as a police officer. And it is my second point. The second awareness is mental rehearsing or visualizing things in your head has been proven. Research has showed it's just as effective as physically practicing things. So an example would be an athlete. Research has shown that if they practice in their head, shooting baskets in a net or tennis serves, if they mentally visualize it in their head, it's just as good or just as effective as physically practicing. I learned that one at some point in my policing career. So fast forward, Deb is a cop, and at some point the Calgary Police Service changed firearms. So we had a certain type, we had a .38 revolver when I joined the Calgary Police Service, and at some point they realized it wasn't an appropriate, strong enough weapon, so they gave us .40 caliber semi-automatic Glocks. This is a much different firearm. And to be perfectly honest with you, when this was all starting to happen, I got very nervous about it. Show me mercy. And everyone listening, when anyone changes something on you, especially in a working capacity, we have a tendency to be fearful or be negative because we don't like change. Yes. So I fell victim to that. And I started thinking, and I started, not consciously, but in my mind, I started visualizing, oh, this is going to be terrible. I won't know how to use this gun. All these negative pictures were popping into my mind. And, it was bad. Also, as a female, if you can't shoot as a policewoman, I believe the experience in your career is even worse. So there's a lot of pressure to be good at this. And I was very good with my 38. So you can see the story building, and we got our new guns, and I went down to range and shot my gun, and I came out sort of average. I wasn't used to being average. I was used to being sort of top of my class, a really good shot. And that threw me for a loop. And I thought, wow, average? I'm not used to being average. And so every time I went into the range to qualify, you have to go and qualify with your handgun on a regular basis. It's like a test that you have to pass. I got worse and worse and worse. And the reason I got worse and worse and worse was because, not consciously, I didn't, think about sabotaging myself, but I started getting stressed about the qualification period. I started thinking, oh, you're going to fail. Oh, it's not going to work out well. You're going to do badly. So I was practicing in my head, not intentionally, but practicing failing the qualification period. Well, ashamed a bit, but it got so bad. My shooting got so bad that something had to be done. I mean, I was a safety concern for the citizens of Calgary because I was armed and I was a terrible shot. And nothing had changed physically. People need to know this is all a mental game. Nothing in my physicality changed. It was all in my head. And so I dissected it. Like, what happened to me? Why am I crumbling? Why am I not performing the way I should be performing? And I realized that I was practicing failing in my head. And so I said, okay, no more, let's fix that. I'm going to try practicing succeeding in my head.
Yeah.
So the formal term is visualization, or some people use mental rehearsal. I prefer mental rehearsal. So essentially all that is you pretending in your head, being the main character in a movie and pretending going through the scene. It's just daydreaming, purposeful daydreaming. So that's what I did. I started, but before my shift started, after my shift, I started practice, and certainly right before qualification period came, I started practicing, and I closed my eyes, and I would imagine what the range looks like, because I know in my head, I know what it looks like. I could picture the target downrange, and I would imagine drawing my firearm, and I would imagine shooting that target, and I would go through it over and over and over, all the different obstacles that they throw in your way. And of course, here's the trick of this. Everything I imagined was successful. That's a big deal. Okay.
Yeah.
So I started imagining me being successful at every step of the qualification. Every move I made was done the way it's supposed to. Well, long story short, by the end of the next time, literally the next time I went in to qualify with my handgun, first try was a perfect target, but it was a really good target. And I brought my skill level back up. The point being, I never touched my gun other than loading and unloading, beginning and end of shift, because I didn't have time to go down and practice, like physically practice. And I did it all up here and increased my skill sets through mental rehearsal, through visualizing. So, and I've used this in many other things. As you can imagine, there's many dangerous situations a police officer will find himself or herself in. One of the things that was always on my mind was entries. And so what I mean by entry is safely and successfully kicking in a house, going in, securing it, making sure everyone is where they are supposed to be. You I'm sure you catch a drift. It's a high stress situation, and we do training for it as best as we can, like in old buildings or wherever, and we go through this, but it's different when it's live fire, it's different when it's real life. And so I thought, how do I conquer my fear based on how my training was? Because I practiced it successfully.
Awesome.
Yes.
Wow. Debbie, that was really amazing and interesting. I've learned so much. The thing is, before you can actually win, you have to first internalize it. You have to imagine winning before you can actually win in the physical. That is key. All right.
It is.
Goodness, we are running out of time now. Debbie, that was amazing, and I really appreciate your time with me today. I wish we can just keep going on and on and on. I know I would like to keep to my promise that is just going to be 15-minute interview. So thank you so much, Debra, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for saying yes to this. Thank you. All right, and to those watching, I would say you have learned so many things, and I would appreciate if you can put it into practice. Your confidence is key to maintain mental health. Remember, negative thinking produces negative results. So if you want positive results, then you have to develop the habit of having positive thoughts all the time. So thank you once again, Debra. Thank you, my wonderful and amazing listeners.